Hey, 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 what's going on? Ooh, I like the smell of that stuff. That incense stuff smells good. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's broadcast. We have a Misfits show. It used to be that we had a Misfits show every week. It was always about coming up with something Misfits, Sam Hain, Danzig related to discuss every week. First, it was every Sunday, and then it was every Wednesday, and the days kept changing. And then, it started to trickle off a little bit. The material became more precious. And now, every once in a while, we just get like a nugget, a little something to pour over. And this week was a pretty exciting week. We got this. I mean, this is like history, man. Again, we've often talked about how we approach this band and the art that they made from a sort of scholarly perspective. And the thing about being a scholar of something is you get to pour over historical documents, materials that help to best shade who and what that person was, or who and what that interaction might have been, or that historical event, that sort of thing. And in this case, we got a really cool piece to look over. I mean, I'm very much ready to nerd and geek out over it. I mean, when I saw it, I was like, no way. It's almost like you almost feel like it was kind of something like fictionally written about on Reddit. Like, oh yeah, the fiend letter that Glenn sent to Cliff Burton, like something like that actually exists, and it does. And like these things do, the moment, and this is also what happens, the moment anything touches down on the internet, it spreads like wildfire, man, and it is just everywhere. And that's like, my feed is just green hell. Now, the other thing, a while back, we did some shows called What the F is Glenn Danzig Singing About? Like, we sat, we actually tried to analyze Glenn Danzig's lyrics. And the thing is, lyrics, poetry, some of these things they're not meant to be discovered. The writer wants you to come up with your own thing. You don't have to know definitively what the song is about. The song is about what you're able to pull from it. And so it was really interesting to sort of, go line by line, lyric by lyric. I mean, Glenn Danzig lyrics are my favorite lyrics. I just love the way that he sort of, breaks something down, I guess would be the best way to say it. And that was a lot of fun. And one of the songs that we broke down was Green Hell. It's no fun. I will say this, it's no fun when the song is there are not too many Misfits songs that are literal. I think there's a lot of, sort of subversive, messaging and imagery going on underneath the surface. It's not totally at face value, but there are some songs maybe that are, so you kind of have to avoid them. But there are some that are like really fun because they feel like a mystery, like they're just straight up like, this is a mystery. What the hell is he saying here? Or like, that there's something that's just open to, and there's some stuff is just open to interpretation, right? Like, you're just sort of like, oh, well, he could be saying this or he could be saying this. And it's fun just kind of like pick it apart. Green Hell was one of those songs we attempted to pick apart, but the problem was we didn't have the lyrics. We didn't have the proper lyrics. And that's a part of the problem when you look at the lyrics of this band, because nobody, for the most part, I mean, not for all the lyrics, but for many of the lyrics, nobody knows what the hell Glenn Danzig was saying. And to make matters worse, it's even more difficult because in some cases, despite what Glenn Danzig or anybody else will tell you, in some cases, there were no definitive lyrics. In other words, he might be singing something live that's different from what he's singing in the studio versus what he's writing down for Cliff Burton. You know what I'm saying? I will say I didn't do my holy homework and sit down and try and listen to Green Hell, which is not one of my, which is probably at the bottom of the barrel of the original 54 song canon for me. So I did not like actually sit down and listen to Green Hell and try to be like, oh, so what, is a word off here, a word off here, But I figure we could at least take a look at the lyrics together. I figured we could take a look at a little closer at Cliff Burton and he, how that we have these lyrics is because of Cliff Burton. And it's kind of weird. This letter ends up being a point of intersectionality for both Metallica and the Misfits, but primarily you could probably throw a dart as to the moment, the singular moment where something happened that pushed the Misfits into a whole other, sort of pop culture zeitgeist, which we've talked about ad nauseum on here, and we'll do again for this episode because it's important to do such things, right? Excuse me, I'm very burpy, belchy because this seltzer I'm drinking, it's so good, and I don't have more. I wish I had more seltzer. I don't. Unfortunately, I really should have made a seltzer run tonight, but I was busy working on a secret project that I can't tell you about yet. We have one order of business to get down to before we can even really begin the show. We haven't even begun the show yet. We're going to begin the show right now the proper way, because I guess this is this qualifies as a streaming Evil Live show, like the OG original shows that really brought this channel back from, just, I was going to say obscurity. I think it's still obscure, but you know what I mean? Like just inactivity is the word I was looking for. So let's listen to the streaming live theme song. This is for Rue Morgue, dedicated to Rue Morgue because he loves it so much. I'm playing it for you right now.
Jeff is gonna talk about the Misfits right now. He's a nerd about this stuff, obsessed anyhow. Jeff never shuts his face, always needs to talk. Might be shown some weight if he went out for a walk. Do you think Danzig cares? He doesn't care. He's not into ranch.
Okay, the streaming Evil Live show has begun. All right, so part of what made the Misfits sort of explode after the band was gone, there were a few things. One, you have the Crimson Ghost, right? For those of you who've been here before, this is just going to be redundant information, whatever. If you're watching the show for the first time, maybe you'll find this interesting. So think about it like that. You have the Crimson Ghost, right? People see the image. What the hell is the Crimson Ghost? I want to know what that is. Oh, that's part of a band? Let me listen to their music. Oh, their music is hard to get? Well, give me a tape. That sort of thing. People are skateboarding. Look at the bottom of their skateboard. They got the Crimson Ghost on there. Wow, so cool, amazing. That's number one. Number two, the music itself. The band recorded 54 compositions. They didn't release all 54 compositions initially. There were posthumous releases, of course. But they put out a lot of physical music. And those 7 inches eventually begat tapes that we were just talking about when people, were finding out Crimson Ghost and whatnot. And then that led to, what. And I would say the third factor, and probably the biggest one, at least the highest profile one, is Metallica. Metallica are this up and coming metal band that is soon to explode, right? I mean, they really explode with the Black Album. But, their profile with every release, and I'm not well-versed totally in Metallica stuff, but I know that with every release, Metallica's profile grew bigger and bigger and bigger. And they're doing press, they're in magazines. This is throughout the 80s. Print media, if you wanted to find out information, print media was your number one source for finding out stuff. And what are they wearing in every goddamn photo? They're wearing the Crimson Ghost and Sam Hain t-shirts, that Glenn and Erie one-offs, you know, super rare stuff. So, I have to stop for 1 second because Corpse Reed says, more of a genie guy or a key guy. I love that. Definitely going to say key guy. Up until this point, we now know that both of those are incorrect. Also, Team Iron Lung forever. We all know that Iron Lung is correct, but I just funny that you said that, a genie guy or a key guy. I like that. Super inside baseball. That's inside baseball for the inside baseball for the inside baseball. So as they're growing in their profile, you look at these magazines and what is on their shirts, all their shirts, Misfits and Sam Hain, man. These guys are just repping this band. And if Metallica is repping this band, Metallica's the coolest thing in the world right now, then gosh darn it, I need to know what this band is. And I would even let's put a fourth category there too, for number 4. And this was not my experience because, like I said, I'm not a metalhead and I'm not super well versed in Metallica. Although my son is becoming a really big Metallica fan, and the next time they come to town, we're definitely going to go see him, just because I know my son will be stoked. I'll go. It'll be fun. I've never been to a Metallica show. It'll be fun. And that is the Garage, the 598 Garage Days Revisited EP, right? Because that had a Misfits cover. It had 2 Misfits covers. It had Last Caress and Green Hell, right? And then I think Garage Days Revisited, or just Garage Days, whatever it was, in 98-ish or whatever, 97, whenever that came out in the 90s, that also included Die Die My Darling, I think. But those are 3 in the ways that bands, you know how bands will do signature covers. It's not their song. They didn't write it, but it's in their songbook. It's in their catalog, their repertoire of songs that they do. They do their own version that makes it their own. I've never been a big fan of Metallica's Misfits covers, but that's neither here nor there. The point is that signature Metallica, synonymous with Metallica covers are Last Caress, Green Hell, and Die Die, right? That EP, which exploded and sold a lot of copies, featured Last Caress and Green Hell, and that was the reason why all begins with Cliff Burton, which brings me to Cliff Burton. Okay, see how I'm doing this? How we're slowly making our way through the thing. So, in order to do this justice, let's go to Orion, a tribute to Cliff Burton. This is on the Metallica Museum website. And I had to use my throwaway email address just so I could make an account to log in, because I was like, if we're going to do this, let's do this right. Oh my God, that seltzer's so good, and it's almost over. Cliff Burton was the second bassist of Metallica, a beloved bassist of Metallica. Cliff tragically died in a freak accident. Here's Cliff. Picture of Cliff right here. Cliff died in a terrible, terrible accident. They were on tour. I think they were somewhere in Scandinavia, right? I think that, you know, it's funny because this thing's postmarked for Denmark. Could you imagine if he received this right before he died? I think he died in 86, maybe late 85. And if he died in late 85, that's when this is from. This is late 85. The story goes, the legend goes, it's the legend. Yeah, it was in Denmark, I think. Some Metallica fan will correct me and tell me I'm wrong. That's okay. I like I said, I don't claim to be a Metallica expert here. So please, fix whatever it is. Yes, Biz, it's going to be an awesome time with my son. I'm going to enjoy it thoroughly. Hi, Amy. Thank you for the skulls. Much appreciated. The legend goes that it's kind of like the day the music died with the Big Bopper and Richie Valens and Buddy Holly and Dion. Dion lost a coin toss. Didn't go on the airplane. The airplane crashed. The three of those guys passed away. They died. In the same way, Cliff and Lars were fighting over who gets the bunk, or arguing over who should get the top bunk on the tour bus. And oh my God, this is killing me. How do I not remember this part of the story? And I'm like, I feel like I'm doing a disservice to Cliff Burton's memory by not telling the story properly. So let me just confirm before I just start talking out of the side of my neck here. I'm sure here we'll get to it really, really quickly. Sorry. Okay, so he died in Sweden on the Damage Inc. tour, supporting Master of Puppets. The band members complained that the bunks on the tour bus were unsatisfactory and uncomfortable. The story of how Burton won the bunk differs between the two band members, as Kirk stated on VH1's Behind the Music that he and Burton drew cards, and Burton picked the ace of spades, thereby getting the first choice of bunk. And everybody knows that the ace of spades is basically the card of death. So that's like some rock and roll mystique right there. Burton told Kirk, "I want your bunk." So I thought it was Lars. It was actually Kirk. Kirk replied, "Fine, take my bunk. I'll sleep up front. It's probably better anyway." However, Lars's version of the event was that Kirk and Burton drew straws, while Burton drew the long straw, winning the choice of bunk. Burton was sleeping when, according to the driver, shortly before 7 a.m. on September 27th, the bus skidded off the road and flipped onto the grass. With no safety restraints on the bunks, Burton was thrown violently through the window of the bus, which then fell on top of him, killing him instantly. He was 24 years old. And it was caused by hitting a patch of black ice on the road. But James Hetfield later stated that he first believed that the bus flipped because the driver was drunk. James also stated that he walked long distances down the road looking for black ice and found none. It's so insane. A photographer was asked later on in the interview about the likelihood that black ice caused the accident. He said, well, it was out of the question because the road was dry, whatever. This is getting off the topic here. The point being is that, he died in late 86. Okay. He died in late 86. Got it. Okay. My bad. So Cliff died. But before Cliff died, what Cliff brought a lot of things to the band. You know, he brought his riffs. He was a bass player. He didn't use a pick. He used his fingers, which is, I guess, kind of hard when you're doing metal, right? A little bit or something, or it's not so easy to play metal with your fingers. It's my understanding. Could be wrong here. In any case, one of the things that Cliff brought to the band was his love of the Misfits. Cliff was in the Fiend Club. He was a fiend, man. I mean, as you can see by his Crimson Ghost shirt that he's wearing here in this photo, and as well as his Misfits Crimson Ghost tattoo. Here's another photo. You can see a little sliver of his Crimson Ghost tattoo right there. You can see his Earth AD Misfits shirt that he's wearing. And here's the band posing, and you can see once again, he has this really sort of jacked up looking Misfits Crimson Skull. It's got like a weird flat top, almost like a Frankenstein head. You can't see it very well in this photo here because it's a little small, but it kind of has like a flat top there. In any case, the point being is that Cliff loved the Misfits, and what he did was he turned the rest of the band onto the Misfits. Here's what Kirk Hammett said in regards to them from Thrasher magazine in 1986. It just grew on us, and we started listening to it a lot. I like the Misfits. I like the songs. And then I saw the pictures of them and went, wow, this is cool. The imagery that they used was like some of the stuff that I've seen in old horror comics. In that same interview, Metallica confirmed that they would be covering a Misfits song sometime in the near future. And that was actually not true because they wound up recording 2 Misfits songs as a way to help break in their brand new bassist, Jason Newsted, who joined when Cliff passed away in 1987, which those tracks wound up on the 598 EP. And the 598 EP did very well for Metallica, and not just for Metallica, for Glenn Danzig, right? I mean, one of the most lucrative aspects of music is music publishing, and Glenn Danzig, has the publishing from those songs. At least he did at that time, and he did pretty well. For as good as Metallica did, Glenn Danzig did good as well. Metallica may have been the band to change the mainstream's minds about the so-called thrash metal movement, but they did it in the UK not through the third album, The Magnificent Master of Puppets, but the follow-up. And no, I do not mean And Justice for All. Master of Puppets made the top 50 in UK album charts and was a clear sign that Metallica was making progress. But to put it into context, Iron Maiden were going straight to number 3 with Somewhere in Time that same year. It was going to take more than just another record for Metallica to win over the unconverted. I think it was the 598 Garage Days Revisited EP that made the difference. The background to the record starts with Cliff Burton's tragic death. The grief-stricken band recruited Jason Newsted from Flotsam and Jetsam, a band that had not long received an unprecedented, not to mention unwarranted, 6 Ks out of 5 album review for Kerrang! Magazine. They needed a team bonding session, so famously went out and soundproofed Lars's garage, with the exception of Kirk, according to the sleeve notes, covered in old carpets and presumably old egg boxes. Everybody used egg boxes when soundproofing things. It's a well-known fact. The band rehearsed some old, what does that stand for? Some old tunes by Diamond Head and punk songs by the Misfits, among others, and quickly recorded the songs in the studio. Stripped out of the clever 80s production of Master of Puppets and playing other people's songs, the heavier riffs made the band more accessible to those who didn't get thrash. So this was kind of like the crossover. It's like, hey, we're thrash metal, but here are some things that we really love. Here's a bunch of punk stuff that we really love, and I know you're going to love it too. And since we have that in common, maybe you're going to enjoy our music. So kind of like something to bridge Metallica to a wider fan base that wasn't necessarily rooted in thrash or metal, right? So they're playing other people's songs. Heavier riffs made the band more accessible to those who didn't get thrash. The 598 EP was the moment that the pendulum swung in their favor, just a collection of old cover songs. The song that convinced both me and my friends in particular, let's just quickly say that this is written by, it doesn't tell you who it was written by. I don't know. It just says Metallica Crash Course in Brain Surgery. The song that convinced both me and my friends in particular was Crash Course in Brain Surgery. It swung, heavy, monster riff, great rhythm, and quite funny in the middle. You couldn't help but smile at such a heavy groove. I played the EP to my skeptical friends, looking to convert them to this new music. It wasn't until they heard this song that I could see the penny drop, and it made sense. It may not be as well known as a track like Enter Sandman or One, but it was every bit as important in Metallica's story. Free Speech for the Dumb was almost as good. Less Metallica, more Neanderthalica. I like that. In a good way. Just 2 chords. Sometimes you don't need 3. A pounding drum sound. Just a huge song. We sat around with big grins on our faces. My friends had found a great new band. The EP also made the band more accessible. Were they mocking the great Iron Maiden at the end of Last Caress and Green Hell by playing an out of tune Run to the Hills? But I think that's just what you do when you love something or when you want to, just add. It's an Easter egg. It's just an Easter egg. Why did they whoop and act daft during Crash Course in Brain Surgery? This is clearly written by someone who's British. Suddenly, these angry-looking thrash dudes appeared almost human. A 1987 Donington appearance supporting Bon Jovi, Yes, Really, then impressed many, including me, in the hearts and minds of the UK metalheads, had been one. Every new studio record Metallica released after that went top 10 in the UK. The 598 EP is a rare example of a right record, right place, right time. It was instrumental in Metallica's subsequent success. Why not remind yourself how good it is and play it right now? So it says how 598 made Metallica millions. And it's I guess the idea, the concept here that the writer is trying to get, and I'm sorry, the writer's name is not here. Otherwise I would tell them. This is from the everyrecordtellsastory.com. Is that, that this was a gateway for a lot of people who were not into Metallica's core sound, which is basically what I just said before. And that opened people up. It opened and gave Metallica goodwill to a more mainstream, or Metallica got more goodwill from a more mainstream audience, or a wider audience, I should say, which definitely contributed to their records going to going to number one. Dudley says, love your stuff, Jeff, especially Misfits. Always a great listen. I appreciate that, Dudley. Thank you. If you're enjoying this show and you've never been here before, you should subscribe to my channel. I never tell people to subscribe, but definitely do it. And two of the songs that were on that EP were Misfit songs. So all of that can be traced back to this important moment when, when Cliff Burton received a letter from Glenn Danzig. Now, Glenn Danzig, and I wish it'd be amazing to get all of Glenn Danzig's correspondences together. Excuse me for my burping. It would be great to get all of Glenn Danzig's letters together and kind of collect them in the same way. Again, like, how you can read the correspondence of like a famous president or, this writer or whoever. It's like, that is kind of like what this is. A little bit, which makes it, makes it more interesting. So here is a classic example of a Fiend Club letter, although it may not be actually Fiend Club. It could have just been Cliff, could have just written to Glenn, and Glenn was simply responding. It's from the P.O. box, though. It's not from it's not from 49 MacArthur, which was Glenn's family's former address in Lodi. Postage, international postage was $3.83. It was airmail special delivery. And we got a little figure here. It says, "Hiya, guys," one of Glenn's little skeleton guys. And of course, you get the bones around. Robbie Bloodshed lovingly recreates this sort of stuff whenever he sends me stuff, and I love him for it. I really do. I love that bones. I wish I had more more stuff to send out in the mail, because I would definitely do the bone thing. Amy says, I saw a YouTube short of Jerry only thanking Cliff for supporting their music and regretting not meeting him. Yeah, I mean, that's the funny thing is, like, if you ask Glenn today, like, so Metallica like helped you, right? Like Metallica helped you and everything. And Glenn might go, no, Metallica didn't help us. We helped them, but they didn't help us. They didn't do nothing for anybody. Maybe that's what Glenn would say today. But, Jerry, funny thing, Uncle Jerry, like, recognizes what Cliff Burton and Metallica did for the Misfits. Hey, everybody. Mom Longoria is here. Mom, how are you? Hope you're well. Hope your family's well. Hope your kids are well. Good to see you in the chat. Thanks for joining us. So he received this envelope, and I guess this found its way into the collection of James Hetfield, and they put it into this museum, and it's like nobody knew that this existed. This is just again, we think we know everything, or we think we've discovered everything. We haven't. There's so much out there. Before we take a look at the lyrics, we should acknowledge that they're kind of sticky. And you know what else is sticky? Riot stickers. Riot stickers are sticky. That's right. Yes. Do you need riot stickers? Well, you've come to the right place, because riotstickers.com has all of your stickering needs. If you want stickers of Cliff Burton, okay, if you want stickers of Cliff Burton wearing his Misfits Crimson Ghost shirt, You can get them in the shape of Cliff Burton. If you order our special deal, you can get 200 die cut stickers for $69. Go to ridestickers.com/Frumess. That's ridestickers.com/Frumess. You get 200 stickers for $69. Link is down in the description. Do not hesitate. Take advantage of this deal. It is a great deal. I'm going to go run and grab a bottle of water since I'm all out of seltzer. We're going to play the Less Than Jake Riot Stickers theme song video, and then we are going to be back taking a look at this incredible document of history that is, as I said, an intersectional pinpoint, and I'll explain why it is in a minute.
We make stickers, banners, and buttons too, posters and promo cards. There's nothing we can't print for you. From stage backdrops to bass drum heads, we can print on shirts, we can print on hats, we can print on pants. Cheap prices and high quality, quick turnaround times and free shipping. We also offer free artwork support, great customer service, and so much more. RiotStickers.com, Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. RiotStickers.com, Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. RiotStickers.com, Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. RiotStickers.com, Riot Stickers, we are the bomb.
And that is a promise. Okay, we're back. Now we're talking about Cliff Burton. We're talking about the Misfits. We're talking about Metallica. We're talking about Green Hell. So here it is. Written on the back, classic Glenn Danzig move, and making whatever his correspondence was all the more special. Taking a flyer of some kind, or sometimes even the back of like a poster, like a 3 Hits from Hell poster or whatever. And here he is writing out a letter to Cliff in Metallica. This is in 1985, I believe. This is from 1985. Notice that Glenn, here's a couple interesting things about this letter, okay? One, look at the handwriting here. This is nuts. This is absolutely nuts. Here, I'll make myself a little smaller so you can see it a little better. What do you notice? Whenever Glenn writes any of these letters, he always writes in uppercase block letters like these up here. And it's very easy to tell Glenn Danzig's handwriting. But yet, for some reason, he chooses very specifically to write in incredibly neat lowercase handwriting. And what's interesting is you can almost tell. It's so funny. You look at his block print versus his lowercase print, and it's like, it literally looks like, you know, if he was typing on a keyboard that he would have put caps lock on, and that's what you get. He's choosing to do it in lowercase letters, and I wonder why that is. Another interesting thing, much like the Bullet lyric sheet from the Bullet EP, the sort of phrasing, the formatting of the Bullet lyrics are done in sort of like a poetry-esque format. Bullet was a poem from 1973 before it was a song. And it seems Glenn is doing something similar here. He's very he's paying extra care to, or he's taking extra care, sort of format this in a certain way. And so here he writes, Cliff, here are the words to Greenie. If it comes out, send me a few copies. What does that mean? And why would he put copyright and published by Glenn Danzig, Hellbent Music? And that's because what you can surmise from this situation is that Cliff wrote to Glenn or saw Glenn or something and said, hey, man, can you give us the lyrics of Green Hell? Because either A, he had already gone to the band and said, hey, let's cover Green Hell at some point, or B, let me get the lyrics to Green Hell and then pitch it to the band and in hopes that we can record it, yada, yada, yada. And he said, because look what Glenn says specifically. He says, if it comes out, meaning that it's very possible that it might not even come out. Well, it might not come out for a lot of reasons, but maybe one of those reasons is because the band is not totally on board about doing it. Maybe there's no particular, we don't know what Cliff's exact intentions were when he's asking for these lyrics, right? But one thing's for certain, he's not just asking as a fan, he's asking because he has the intention of wanting to cover it. Now, obviously, Cliff would never get the chance to do that because he tragically passed away, as we mentioned. But clearly, whether they had started covering it already, and I don't think they had, because I think they said they first started playing it in 87 and Cliff died in September of 86. But clearly Cliff was laying the groundwork, or maybe they were rehearsing the song, or maybe they were intending to play it live and they hadn't rolled it out yet. But Cliff had very much, lobbied for this in some way, or maybe he hadn't. Maybe Kirk or one of the other guys were like, hey, Cliff, thanks for turning us on to Misfits. I'm loving this. Let's, can you reach out to Glenn and see if he'll give us some of the lyrics to Green Hell? Maybe we can cover it. So I don't want to sound like any which way was the definitive story here. These are all just surmisations of what it could have been. But Glenn was very casual about it. He says, if it comes out, send me a few copies. And he gets a little bit more, he remains casual and jokey at the end of the letter, but it's serious enough where Glenn's like, well, if it happens, I want some copies. Here's the rest of the letter. He says, I don't usually let people cover our stuff. I mean, they can't really stop people from covering your stuff, but he can definitely stop people from having the right lyrics. And he went to great care to give Cliff specific lyrics that represented the song. He said, but you guys are about the only band who can do it and not butcher it. And Glenn has, seesawed over the years in interviews where he said that, oh yeah, Metallica, they butcher our songs, or, oh, Metallica did it justice. If you do butcher it, he says, butcher it, grr. Oh, that's what he's saying. He's like, but you guys are about the only band who can do it and not butcher it. If you do butcher it, grr, beware my vengeance. And then he puts in parentheses, I doubt you will. That's about it. If there's any problem with publishing, publishing COs, publishing costs, have them give me a buzz. Later Killer. Now, when he says later killer at the end, that's a specific reference, for those of you who don't know, to Jerry Lee Lewis. Jerry Lee Lewis, one of the four tent poles of like the original rock and roll, right? Great Balls of Fire. Jerry Lee Lewis, love him or hate him, he did marry his 13-year-old cousin, which was so, I mean, obviously that's taboo today, but it was so taboo even then that it ruined his career. And this is the, 50s. And, we all know about the debaucherous, horrible things that happen with groupies throughout the decades. But hey, man, that's rock and roll, right? As they always say. Well, I'll tell you, Jerry Lee Lewis ruined his career when he married his 13-year-old cousin. That's for sure. But one thing that Jerry Lee Lewis, coming from the South the way that he did, one of the things that he would say if he really liked you, I know this because I listened to a Henry Rollins podcast about meeting Jerry Lee Lewis. If he called you killer, if he called you killer, he liked you. He liked you a lot. It was a sign of affection. And so when Glenn says later killer, I wonder if he's referring specifically to that inflection that Jerry Lee Lewis used to give people. Maybe not, but that's what I think. And here we have a classic Misfits era Glenn Danzig signature. I would almost reckon to say this. I think this is not 85. I think this is actually 83. And if it is 83, which would make sense because it's on a Earth AD, it could have been 83, 84. Who knows? Oh, you know what? It'll actually say on the envelope. I'll tell you what. It says September 24th, 1985. Okay. So it's about a year from Cliff Burton's death. So Cliff Burton had the lyrics for almost a year and they hadn't recorded or they hadn't released anything. If they had recorded something with Cliff, they never released it or they didn't release it at that point in time. Notice again, Glenn goes back to that block print. at the bottom of the letter. It's only when he's doing the lyrics to Green Hell that he's doing it in this lowercase style that I've never seen from Glenn. I just always assume Glenn's handwriting looks like this right here. Even when he's writing out copyright and published by Glenn Danzig, Hellbent Music, he's using his cap, the block letter. So why is he, does anybody have a good explanation as to why it is that he's doing this? I don't know. Now, the last thing that I want to say before we look over the lyrics and try to make sense of them, and this is important to sort of notate or to recognize, is that there are many examples of, as I said, Glenn Danzig using, changing the lyrics in all sorts of ways, in various subtle ways. You know, what he's singing in rehearsal may not be what he's singing live, which may not be what is on the record. And he changed around lyrics a lot. And even when he came back into the Misfits, he wasn't necessarily singing the exact things that he was saying. And because Glenn wrote the songs, Glenn's just like, yeah, no, fuck you. Like, that's what I was singing. That's what I was always singing. What do you know? I know better than you. What do you know? So as to whether these lyrics from 1985 are where is Glenn getting these lyrics from? Is he getting them from what he remembers from recording this 2 years ago? Because he's not playing Green Hell in 85 anymore. So when is Glenn, how is Glenn recalling these lyrics? Does he have a lyric book? Is he doing it off the top of his head? Does he listen to Green Hell on Earth AD? Does he listen to an LP and go, oh yeah, that's how it goes, and just writing it down as he's listening? Who friggin' knows? We'll never know. But one thing's for certain, it's not key to your death, and it's not Genie of Death. We now know definitively that it's not. Although maybe it is, after what I just said, that whole thing I just said. Here in this face lies the key to your death. Touch it, see it, Green Hell. Here in this face, here in this fist is the means to your end. Touch it, feel it, Green Hell. So he says, here in this face, and he wants you to touch the face, and he wants you to see the face. And the key to your death, oh, I guess it was key to your death, right? Not Genie of Death, it was key to your death, right? So here in this face lies the key to your death. Like, this is a deadly face, and you should embrace your death by touching it and seeing it. And it's the same for this fist. This fist is a means to your end. So touch it and feel it. Basically saying, embrace your death, and then saying Green Hell. You've come to this as no one could. I'll bet you never knew you would. And don't you run away from it. I'll bet you thought you really could. I don't know what the hell he's saying there. Really could what? You've come to this as no one could. Nobody could come to this the way that you have. And I bet you never knew you would. I think he's just trying to rhyme there. He's just trying to rhyme could with would. And I bet you never knew you would. You never knew that you would come to this as no one could. That's literally what he's saying, I think. And don't you run away from it. So like you can't run away from it. And I bet you thought you really could. These might be some of the most wooden Glenn Danzig Misfits lyrics that and mind you, this is the same guy who wrote Return of the Fly, which I love. We're gonna burn it up. We're gonna burn it up. Like deviled hell. Is it deviled hell? It's not deviled, because deviled would be two L's. So is there a deviled? Is that a word, or is that a word that he's coining? Like mutilation is not a real word. Let's see if deviled is a real word. Deviled. No, it's just like deviled. Like deviled eggs. That's so friggin' funny, man. It's not deviled. It's deviled, man. It's just deviled. I just had to think in my head, like, there's no way he's saying deviled hell. Deviled hell. Like deviled eggs. That's so funny. We're gonna burn it up. All right. There's one last theory. So he's giving them the lyrics, but maybe he's throwing them off by not giving them the exact lyrics because he doesn't want anybody to sing the songs exactly the way he's singing. Nobody can do my songs the way I do my songs. So if you want the lyrics, I'll give you some lyrics, but they're not going to be the exact right lyrics. And that's another possible theory. But the idea we're going to burn it up like deviled hell, but not afraid. Not afraid it up. Not afraid it up. Wow. Time to face the facts of death. It up. Feel the ground to feel the searing. It up. Your old world starts to shake apart. It up. Down upon your belly, you must stay. Get up. Get up and feel the torch of hell. Get up. I mean, these are very empty lyrics to me. I'm so sorry. Chris, it's okay. You don't have to hate to say it. It is one of the weakest. I agree. Dudley agrees. He says he thinks he's switching it up always. Corpseweed says James said he thought Glenn was trolling him in some kind of monster, I think. Yeah, I've seen that clip. It sure seems like a trolling here. This does not seem real. Even though people will say that it is real and that it is real because Glenn Danzig wrote it. I mean, it's still amazing. It's an amazing document. This is literally, you can pinpoint the moment in addition to the t-shirts, but you can pinpoint the moment where the Misfits and Metallica intersect in a way that is going to push the Misfits up. It's going to give them so much more cred. Down upon your belly, you must stay. Get up and feel the torch of hell. Get up. Hell is green and in its flames. It up. We're going to burn it up. Green hell. I mean, this sounds like, you know what this sounds like? This sounds like Chat GPT trying to write a Glenn Danzig song, or it sounds like someone trying to write a parody of a Glenn Danzig song, which is really, really friggin' funny. You know, green hell. Here in this face lies the key to your death. Touch it, see it. Here in this fist is your world at an end. Touch it, feel it. And then repeat to here. So it almost feels like, you know what? It's almost like he's giving him a phone number, but he's leaving off one digit. That's what it feels like. Ultimately, that's where I come to. That's my ultimate sort of surmisation. It's a cool document. I mean, of course it's a cool document. It's a piece of history. And it just shows this is the moment where they get, they gain access to that and it opens up Glenn and the band to a whole new level of stuff. Think about all the records that Glenn sold because Metallica covered one of his songs, right? Like his sales definitely did better for it. And the fact that they chose to cover Last Caress, which was already a super rare song, which probably elevated everything even more so in some way. So yeah, I don't know. That's the show. That's all that I got for you. I thought we'd have more interpretation, but there really is nothing to interpret there. We did a whole episode trying to interpret what Green Hell was about. Go check that out. It's a clip actually from a much larger show. Someday we'll do a third What is Glenn Singing About? We'll probably do a Sam Hain edition. By the way, I had Pete Marshall was on my show yesterday, and we talked about Funhouse, and he talks about some November Coming Fire stuff. So make sure you check out that show. Pete is going to come back. We're going to do a November Coming Fire episode, probably in November, I would imagine. Maybe, just maybe, I can get Pete and Erie at the same time. How cool would that be? How friggin' awesome would that be? Let me see. Who knows? Maybe I could work some magic. I'm going to put that out into the universe and see if I can coax these guys to do something like that. That would be epic beyond belief, I think. Hey, Uke and Dudley, I appreciate you guys too. Thanks for watching. Please make sure you like this video. Leave me a skull. Share it with your friends. Tune in soon. We do have sour cream t-shirts, guys. You know that. We have sour cream t-shirts. In fact, I don't know if you realize this, but we make t-shirts. But that's the wrong store. So you don't want to go there, actually. But we do have sour cream t-shirts available right here on YouTube. So check those out. Secret shows coming. John Christ, more John Christ, 2 new episodes of John Christ, Lucifuge. Anti-shows coming up, and my secret project that I'll tell you more about when there's more to talk about. All right. That's it. Signing off. Peace. Hair grease. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. What do you think about this piece of history? How cool is it? Bet, man, you put that onto auction, it'll go for a lot of money. Who knows? All right, guys, I'm off to green hell.